Ha! Hello, hello. Yes, may maganda ng microphone. Charot. Okay, so this is a continuation of our first discussion, which is human input-output channels. So last time we have discussed the eyes, the seeing part of input in in our system as humans. Uh, So if you're going to compare it with the computers, well, we're going to discuss that in the later in life. But for now, since we're talking about human perception or human channels, so ayan, we're just going to continue with the different senses of the human body. So yeah. Okay, so today we're going to continue with vision. Hindi niyo pala nakikita may mic ako, naka-off cam pala ako. Okay, so today we're going to continue with vision. So we have the color theory, the 3D vision, and then reading. Then we have also hearing. So we have the human ear and how the ear processes sound. And then we have the touch, which are also called as the haptic perception. So we have the skin physiology and the types of haptic senses. And then also we have the movement. And this is what we call the movement perception. Okay. So color can be a powerful tool to improve user interfaces, but its inappropriate use can severely reduce also the performance of the systems we build. So basically, ito pala yung malinaw na part. Okay, so basically, colors are really essential when it comes to building user interfaces in our system or in everything we do as an IT professional. This will not limit in systems also. It can also be used in creating websites, photography, layouting, and all those stuff. So color conveys messages that low-key, we don't know. Parang low-key lang na parang hindi mo napapansin, pero it actually conveys a big message when it comes to you know, yung human interaction niya, kumbaga. Of course, like, example, uh, yung user interface ng Facebook, ganyan. So, basically, it's just plain blue and white. And hindi rin siya nakakaumay sa kumbaga, sanay na, parang sakto lang kasi yung color combinations nila. Hindi sila contrasty, hindi rin siya masyadong mabigat pag tinitignan mo. Unless yung mga posts na tinitignan mo, mabigat talaga, ganun. Parang track din ako. Okay, so so color are sensory response to electromagnetic radiation in the spectrum between wavelengths 0.4 to 0.7 micrometers. So this is on nanometers. So you have the UV. The higher frequency is like the violet, magenta thingy. Then the lower frequency are the reds. Yeah. Okay, so for our color theory, I'm really hoping and praying that you guys already know this, like kahit pahapyaw man lang sana. So we have the primary colors, the secondary colors, the tertiary colors, color harmony, and color context. So in the primary colors, we have the yellow, red, yellow, and blue. So don't get confused with the RGB because here, currently we are talking about pigments. So pigments, ito po yung paint, ganyan, sa traditional, ganyan. Yon. So when it comes to pigments, the primary color is the red, yellow, and blue. So these pigment colors that cannot be mixed and cannot be formed by any combination of other colors. So basically kasi sa pigments, guys, di ba you're mixing colors in order to attain the other colors? So that's why that's the primary color. So then we have the secondary color formed by mixing the primary color. So you have green, orange, and purple. So we create green by mixing blue and yellow. We create orange by mixing yellow and red. And then we create purple by mixing red and blue. Okay, so the tertiary colors, so Bali, mixing one primary and one secondary color. So you have yellow orange, red purple. Basta yun, blue purple, blue green, and yellow green. Ayan. So when we say color harmony, this is the pleasing arrangement of parts, whether it be by music, poetry, color, or even ice cream sundae. Keme. So when something is not harmonious, it's either boring or chaotic. So extreme unity leads to understimulation, extreme complexity leads to overstimulation. Therefore, you have to reach the dynamic equilibrium, and that is what we call harmony. Yan. So basically, color harmony, ito yung pagkakatugma-tugma ng mga kulay na paano mo sila dapat mapagsama-sama para maging harmonious yung itsura. Hindi yung basta nagdagdag-dagdag ka lang ng kulay dyan, sabog-sabog na siya. Ayan. So these are theory-based pa lang na color harmony. And then next time I'm going to teach you also some other ways on how to create a palette, color palette, ganyan. Uh, pero basically, this is like the foundation of such. So we have some formulas for color harmony. So we have the analogous colors. So anong ibig sabihin nito, guys, is you have any three colors which are side by side on a 12-part color wheel. So this is our color wheel right here. I don't know if you see my cursor, pero sige, ganyan na lang. Ayan, so you have the color wheel here. So the color wheel is already combined or until the tertiary colors. So when we say analogous, so we will use three colors. So basically, our first is the green one. Mali yung, ano ba ginamit niya rito? Ayan, yellow one. And then you can actually have three beside niya. So you can have yellow, then they have the green, and I think it uses the blue-green. Ano bang kulay ito? Ayan. So, pwede yan. Or, sige, let's have other yellow. Ano to? Yellow, orange, and then you have orange. You can also create a palette using that one. Okay. So next is we have what we call the complementary colors. So any two colors which are directly opposite each other. So we have red and green here, and then red, purple, and yellow, green. So bale, parang across complementary ang ginawa niya. So using this formula, dito na uso yung what we call orange and teal na tinatawag nila, which is still is like the blue-green kemeru lang naman. So you have the orange here, tapos ang katapat niya is, the blue-green one, o diba? So, like magkalapit lang, ayan, orange and then the blue-green. So, yun yung orange and teal, diba, nauso talaga yun sa color grading, like lahat talaga ng bagay na nakikita mo, na inedit nila ng Lightroom, orange and teal, perfect, ayan. Okay, so next one is, okay, so nature provides a perfect departure point for color harmony. So red, yellow, and green. Who you? Hi, ma'am. Baka di. Okay, wait lang. Wait. Ako. Hindi. Tinatamad ako mag-pause. Sige, pag-tsagan yan. Okay, so as I was saying, the nature provides like a perfect departure point for color harmony. So you can have red, yellow, and green. Hello? Hello? Ay, as I was saying, i-trim ko na lang, tinatamad na talaga ako. Sige, red, yellow, and green, as I was saying, creates a harmonious design regardless whether this combination fits in a technical formula for color harmony. So for example, you have this halaman right here. So it has the red, the yellow, and the green. Then you can actually use like a different hues or different palettes for this one. You can actually use it on your designs. Pero huwag kang gagamit ng rectang red sa green ha. Kasi pangalan nito, it's like Christmas bonanza, very Christmas realness, ganyan, kinemero. So, or you can actually use it your Christmas, parang ganun. Okay. So next is, we have what we call the color context. So how color behaves in relation to other colors and shape is a complex area of color theory. So, compare the contrast effects of different color backgrounds for the same red square. Okay. So as you can see here, you have the red square in the middle of these different squares. So basically, lahat naman works out with the color red. Pero ano ba yung pinaka-color na naglalabas ng contrast niya? So, maybe you can go with this black, but it's like too deep. Pero depende pa rin kasi kung saan mo siya gagamitin. Then you have this white, like, okay, white siya. Parang sobrang accented nung red, kumbaga. And then you have the orange. Of course, this is like, nasa analogous, ano lang naman siya. So it also works. And then you have this steel right here. And this is like the complementary color, near complementary color of red. So yeah, that will also do. Okay, so you have the color context of the different reading of the same color. Okay, so you have this. These are all purple, pero saan siya mas lumalabas? And then which is the lighter vertical bar? Of course, you see this one right here sa right side. Okay, so, di ba, we talked about like the primary colors, like being red, yellow, and blue. Yeah. Pero since in our eyes, we see it through light, di ba? Ah, dito na papasok yung tinatawag na RGB because the eyes actually sense light. Hindi naman pigment yung sinasaksak natin sa mata. In order to see, we need light. Ganyan, keme. So there are photopigments ang tawag dun sa bagay kung bakit tayo nakakakita. Ito yung ginagamit sa mata. So there are three types of colors. We have the blue, green, and red. Ayan. So each sensitive to different brand of spectrum. So ratio of neural activity of the three colors. So other colors are perceived by combining stimulation. So basically, nakikita lang ng mata natin is RGB because of the light. And then our brain just process the other colors. Kaya, yon. Kaya nakikita natin ibang kulay. Ayan. So, I'll take you to read that. So this is like a bit technical, like biology level, chemero. Pero that's how you perceive uh, colors through light. Okay, so the color sensitivity, so pinakamababa is the blue one, and then you have the green one, and then you have the red one. Yun yung pinakamataas. Okay, so it's also in here. Okay, so distribution of photopigments. Photopigments use, okay, then not distributed evenly. So basically, more reds ang nakikita natin and very few blues. So, what does it mean? So, medyo insensitive tayo sa short wavelengths, which is color blue. So, cyan to deep blue. So, noong napapansin nyo, noong nakikita natin ang blues, pero if we see red, like boom, red, ganun agad. So, basically like the stop sign, mga ganyan, or any alert sign, kapag lobat yung devices, di ba red, parang uy, red, parang ganun. Pero pag blue, parang chill lang, ganyan, kalma-kalma, ganon. So the center of retina has no blue cones, so disappearance of small blue objects you fixate on. Okay, so color sensitivity in image detection. So we are most sensitive to the center of the spectrum. So blues and red must be brighter than greens and yellows. So brightness determined mainly by RNG. So combined brightness of colors different for sharpness. So shapes detected by finding edges. So it is really hard to deal with blue edges and blue shapes in a person. Pero na yun, parang ayun nga, hirap nga talaga mag-process yung blue. Hindi naman sa hirap na hirap. Kasi like our brain works so mysteriously, so great. Like, ang bilis ng process pa rin. Kahit nasa in paper or in what we know is medyo nagkakalag pa and all. Ayan. Pero mas mabilis talaga natin na-determine yung reds in general rather than blues. Tapos nasa gitna lang yung greens and yellows and kinemeru. Ayan. So as we age, so the lens yellows and absorbs shorter wavelengths, and then fluid between lens and retina absorbs more light. So, yun. So basically, don't rely on blue vortex or small objects, and older users needs brighter colors. Yan. So for the focus, okay. So different wavelengths of light focus at different distances between eyes lens. So you need we need for constant refocusing, and this sometimes causes fatigue. So be careful about color combinations. So for eyed gang, yes, for eyed gang like me, wait lang. Okay, sige. Okay, so okay. Um, what do you call this? Uh, so yun nga, as I was saying, for a gang, na, na, na-try niyo na ba yung parang nagpo-focus yung mata? I mean, siguro kasi yung mga 20/20 vision, parang hindi nila to problema. Pero yung mga malalabo yung mata, parang may mga times talaga na hirap mag-focus yung eyes, especially pag wala kang salamin. Kasi like if you're just started uh, making salamin and all, ayun, parang ang hirap mag-focus. Ifo-focus mo yung mata doon sa bago mong lens, ganyan-ganyan, keme. So, minsan nakakasakit talaga ng ulo yon. Ganon. Okay. Hello? Ayan mo? Ayan mo? Apay, ada pa ba ng bigat? Bigat. Paano ko ba't nadak maalala? Ala ko madibay sa mga kalamit na aparadabit sa likod. Sa ipanijay ko, di balay, di bakit? Mga ano, mga 9 or 8. Nakarain kang atan. Sige. Duroy, alas na talaga na ka. No, babak mapanong pa. Tagi, paawit ko pa. Sige, ganun. Bigat ulat ka. Di, manong mo. Ito na ti yung mga bagkat nga giyawid di balay. Sa tumulog ka sa pagkitin. Bigat ulat na garo. Bye-bye. I-edit ko na talaga ng discussion na tayo need to remove those shit in life. Okay, so, yeah. So, yun nga, kapag nag-focus kasi yung eyes, like, di ba, you uses the extremes of the wavelengths. Like you put so much red and then you put so much blue in that. And then you add ang daming etchaborecheng kinemero. Hindi mahihirapan mag-focus yung mata eh. Parang what's happening? Ganun yung nangyayari sa paligid. Tignan niyo yung mga poster na ini-edit ng mga DDS. Mga ganun level. Ganyan. I'll show you sometime. One next time. Ganyan. Okay, so that's why we need to be careful about color combinations. If possible, just use three colors when you're layouting or you're just creating a user interface or whatnot. Just use three colors. And also, please be guided with the color theory. You can use analogous, you can use complementary. Basta just use three max. Okay, max four colors. Ganon. Okay, so yun nga, pure saturated colors require more focusing than less pure or desaturated colors. So don't use extremely saturated colors in UI unless you really need something to stand out. For example, the stop sign. Isipin mo yung stop sign naka-gradient. Di ba, bongga? Parang, hindi ka nagulat eh. Parang, uy, ganun lang. Pero pag red siya, eh, uy, parang ganun red, ganyan. Ayan. So for the color guidelines, opposite colors go well together. So you have the red and green, and then the yellow and blue, ganyan, keme. And then herring support opponent color diagram. Okay. Okay, so gonna pick non-adjacent colors on the hue circle. Pwede rin parang magdagdag ka ng isang color na ano. Ayun nga. Okay, so size of detectable changes, in color varies. So it's hard to detect changes in reds, purples, and greens, and it's easier to detect changes in yellows and blue greens. So older users need higher brightness level to distinguish colors, and hard to focus on edges created by color alone. So use both brightness and color differences. So avoid red and green in the periphery. Why? So the lack of RG cones there, yellows and blues work in periphery. So sa mga gilid-gilid, LED-gilid, ganyan, mga border-border, huwag kayong gumamit masyado ng red and green. Kasi basically the reds and greens capture attentions masyado. Unless pure red, huwag ka namang magle-layout ng pure red. Ano ka, DPS, charot. Okay, so avoid pure blue for text, lines, and small shapes. Okay, so it is better. Like blue is for like background colors, ganyan-ganyan. Ayan, so avoid single color distinctions as well. So mixture of color should differ in two or three colors. Okay, so help color deficient observers. Okay, you should also consider like the what they call this, yung mga colorblind, ganyan. So, if possible, ang madalas kasi colorblind is like reds and greens. So, basically, then we have also like colorblind people na blue and yellow. So, basically, if you're going to create a page or a user interface that revolves around those colors, maybe you should add like a texture or a shape. Texture na lang. Para ma-distinguish pa, magkaiba pala kulay niyan kasi magkaiba yung texture nila. Parang gano'n na yung nasa isip nila. Okay, so color guidelines. So you have the accurate color discrimination. Okay, then limit of color awareness and cultural issue. Ayan, so ito masyado ng technical yan, keme-keme. Okay, for the cultural issue, let's just talk about this very quickly. So for the cultural issue, so like cultural appropriation ang tinatawag natin doon. So basically, if you're going to example, use an ethnic pattern in your design or the UI. Make sure that you're really using the right pattern or color palette for that. Kasi for example, you're using ifugao. So what's the color of the tela of ifugao? So you have maybe, sorry, I'm not really, hindi ko rin kabisado, pero I think it's red, white, green, parang ganun ata. Hindi, mali, iglesia yun. Sorry, oh my God. Okay, so, pero yon, and then you have the easy nice. The easy nice actually don't use that same cloth or pattern. So the easy nice use like a very different touch of indigo. And then you have also the gatangs, which they use red, blue, and yellow, this beautiful blue. Yan, ganyan, ganyan. So you have to really research on para hindi ka mabash. Number one, hindi ka ma-cancel. Pangalawa, syempre naman, isipin mo naman, di ba? Tamang common sense lang. Ayaw natin magaya sa mga pa-woke sa Facebook. Okay. So we have the three division. So three division give an immediate perception of depth on the basis of the difference in point of view of the two eyes, so also known as binocular vision and stereopsis. So most reliable clue for depth. Okay, so just every time you smile, I smile, and every time you shine, I shine for you. Di ba may oras pa ako kumanta? Okay, let's go. Okay, so three division, parang, yun, parang binibigyan kayo ng illusion na nagkakaroon ng depth, depth. Yung ano yung 2D image. Ayan. The stereopsis gives a reliable distance clue for as far away as 450 meters. So 2D to 3D, strong clues, apparent size of an object of known size, overlapping or parallax, shadows, and perspective. So weaker clues, atmospheric perspective, maybe haze or scattering, speed of movement, and observed detail. Strongest clue is the stereopsis. Okay, so free fusion, keep two pictures side by side. Each eye sees its picture straight ahead. A third fuzz image appears and appears strikingly solid, and brain regards this real one. Ano daw? Basta yan. So stereo pair, the two image at this side is like a stereo pair. So if you use the stereo pair, you will see a frustum of a right cone in 3 dimensions. Ayan. Ay, shit, bumalik. Sorry. Okay, so other than that, so for 3Ds, so 3D images like rendered stuff, it's actually used, I mean, it is sometimes, no, it's not sometimes. Parang okay din siya na gamitin sa design. Depende pa rin talaga sa need ng client and all. Pero as far as 2019, 2020, and 2021 goes, sobrang hyped ng minimalist kinemero. So parang the people in design, parang more on the flats, ganun talaga parang yung mga bevel, mga ganyan, mga 3D kinemero. Hindi siya uso eh. I mean, some still uses those, pero tignan mo yung like the UI of the phones, the iOS UI, Android even, sobrang flat, like Facebook logo, mga ganyan, puro flat na lahat. So yun, I think that's the trend. Okay, so reading, and as we read, of course, that's already an input inside our brain cells. Hopefully, you understand what you read every time. Ganyan. Kasi hindi talaga ako Okay. Is every time you smile, I smile, and every time you shine, I'll shine for you. Oh, oh, feeling you, baby. Chapter 4. Kinoconcertan ko kayo. Wait lang, nakakapagod mag-lecture. Asan na yan? Yo. Okay. Okay, so the stages is the visual pattern perceived, and then decoded using internal representation of language, interpreted using knowledge of syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So reading involves saccades and fixation. Perception occurs during fixation. Regression, eye moves backward and forward, and of course, word shape is important to recognition. So negative contrast improves reading from computer screen. So, di ba you have like reading mode? Ewan ko if you read e-books, ganyan. May reading mode, tapos naging nagiging night mode yung app, ganyan, keme. Okay, so average reading speed is 200 words, 250 words per minute. Oh, really? Joke lang. I mean, word shape is important, like caps lock, ganyan. Di ba like kasi kapag caps lock yung binabasa mo, para kang sinisigawan, ganung level. Siyempre nakakairita, di ba? And then reading speed is a measure of legibility, so font sizes, ganyan. Reading from computer screen is slower due to what? Hindi, kasi masakit sa mata kapag nagbabasa ka sa screen, like sa computer screen, di syempre yung ilaw na i-emit sa'yo, ang tendency kasi nun, hindi ka madalas mag-blink. So, yung blink kasi, blinking kasi, what's that? Nilulubricating eyes, no shit. Yun. Tas, di syempre hindi magdadry yung eyes mo. But when you're reading in the computer, ayun, yun. So legibility can be increased using negative contrast. Okay. So we're done with eyes, and then we have like more. Tsagaan niyo na ako. Okay, so you have human auditory perception, so you have the second to sight. So auditory, which means we use our ears. So we underestimate the amount of info received via ears. Oh my God, we can do this. The few sounds. Ayan. You should always understand the power of your ears, especially kapag may chismis sa tabi, ganyan. Charot. Okay. So, for the hearing, of course, what you use is the ears. And then we provide information about the environment like distance, directions, objects, etc. Alam mo na agad pag di ba, may call ka, of course, your phone will ring, ganyan, keme. Tapos, check mo yung notif mo, notif for Messenger, notif for text messages, notif for TikTok, notif for Shopee, ganyan. Okay, so all is traveled with vibration in the air. Chet, ASMR na ako. In the air. So what we call sound waves. Ayan. So for the human ear, we have the different parts of the human ear, the outer and the middle and the inner ear. So you have here the outer ear, then you have this is so technical. Okay, okay. Okay, so the outer ear is visible parts divided into two. So this have the pinna, which is this one, the ear itself, like we see. And then we have the auditory canal. So this is the auditory canal, so yung papasok sa loob ng iyong tenga. So the outer ear's purpose is to protect your middle ear from damage and the middle ear temperature maintenance. And the pinna and the canal amplify some sound. Actually, totoo yun guys. Kapag parang mas malaki yung tenga mo, mas malakas kasi mas na-amplify niya yung sound. Kumbaga nagiging woofer yung tenga. Parang ganun. Okay, so for the middle ear, we have the part here. So you have the uh, tympanic membrane or eardrum. Where is the eardrum? This one. This is connected to the outer ear. So the cochlea pala, cochela, parting ka girl, to the inner ear, and then the ossicles, this one's here. This is the smallest bone in the body. So the inner ear is full with the fluid, and then there are the cilia, which bend with vibration and causes impulses to the brain. So nang yung cilia, sila na magsasend ng information sa brain. So, yeah. So how do we process sound? So we have three characteristics of sound. So we have pitch, we have the loudness, and we have the timbre. It's going down. Charot. Okay, so what's the difference between the three? So you have the pitch, the frequency of the sound. So when we say the frequency of the sound, the higher the pitch, pag the higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. Yung pitch kasi is the highness or lowness of the sound. So yun yung frequency. So kapag ganito yung boses. Wait, effects ako. Asan yun? Pitch blend. Hello? Hindi, mali. Ito.
Hello, ayan. So, bale, mas mataas yung pitch kapag ganito yung tunog.
Tapos, kapag mababa yung pitch, ito yon. Ayun.
Ayun. Ay, hindi pa. May mas mataas pa pala. So, ito yon.
And then, ito yung mas bababa, di ba? Winner, ganyan.
Okay, so yun. Sorry. Okay, so then of course you have the loudness and softness of sounds. This is the amplitude of sound. And the timbre, this is relates to the type of sound. So the audible range of the human ear is from 20 hertz to 15 kilohertz. Higher than 15 kilohertz, hindi na natin naririnig yan, but your dogs can still hear it, so don't ever try, mababaliw sila. Okay, distinguish between the changes less than 1.5 hertz, hindi na rin natin masyadong naririnig, pero less accurate at higher frequencies. Different frequencies trigger neuron activities, causing nerve impulses. So auditory system filters sounds, so cocktail party effects. You can attend to sound over background noises. So meron tayong like skills at brain na like we can cancel out some sounds from audio, camera, kurishi, ganyan. Ayan. So, yeah. And then sounds really used in, well, when you're doing a layout or interface design, wala naman masyadong sound. Unless you're creating UI for kids. Ayan. Okay. So, ayan. So, what is haptic? Haptic touch. Haptis in Greek means to touch. Ayan. So, ano ba yan? May activity dito. Gawin nyo na lang. Ayan. Okay, so what does this got to do with computers? So what has this got to do with their PCs and ganyan. So ito yan. Imagine like a keyboard when you cannot feel or button press, ganyan. F and J, ayun. So for me, honestly speaking, in my phone I have the vibrate page vibrate feature on sa when I type things in my phone. Kasi parang aalibad pa rin ako pag wala ko nararamdaman. Ayan. Saan nagsimula? Charot! Pinakubaya. Ayan. Ayan. So, kapag wala kasi ang maramdaman na habang nagtatype, for example, I'm using other people's phone and other people find it weird na bakit may vibrate yung aking phone. Bakit? Doon ako comfortable. Kasi gusto ko may nararamdaman ako. Ayun. Ayan. So, and of course, some of you here preferred mechanical keyboard over membrane kasi gusto yung maramdaman yung lagatak ng pagpindot, ganun. Galit na galit, ganun. Okay, so, in your laptops, you can see, or computers, in your keyboards, you can actually feel like the markings on the F and the J. So, di ba sa proper keyboard handling is, yeah, merong marking dyan, paano, kung saan mag-start ang iyong kamay para kahit ikaw ay nakapikit, go lang. Ganyan. So, your mobile phones, though wala na tayo ganun ngayon. Pero, if you find the keyboard, the keypad thingy, the keypad phone, meron din siya indicator for 5 kasi yun yung gitna. And then VR has no touch. Okay, so it provides important feedback about the environment and it must be key sense for someone who's visually impaired, especially Braille. Yan. So how haptic interaction works? So you have the where's the one? Yun, the hand, your hand will touch things. Then it will contact the forces, which is sensors, tactile, and kinesthetic information that translate the brain, motor commands, and then motion. So basically, dito naman sa PC. End effector, if you click your mouse, katak the motion, then may sensor sa loob ng mouse, and it will give the information, and then kung ano yung magiging command, then ano yung babalik sa'yo. Ganon. So basically, kapag halimbawa sinuntok ka, ganyan, syempre naramdaman mo, sinuntok ka eh. Di syempre, na-sense ng iyong skin na, ow, damn, ganon. It's hard, baby girl, ganon. Tapos, ayun. Tapos yung brain mo, presence din, shoot, tapos sinuntok ako po, tayo na neto ganyan, ano na bro, gano'n. Tapos yung motor commands mo, syempre, babawi ka, suntok ka rin pabalik. So yun yung motion mo, di ba? Or, either, suntok ka or tatakbo ka, either of the two, di ba? Ayan. Okay, so there are types of human haptic sensing. So you have tactile, so sense stimulus through the skin, it may be heat, pain, pressure, and then texture. Okay. So, kinesthesia, it may be sense of emotions, affects comfort and performance. So, rapidly adapting, slowly adapting, and positional reception. So, proprioception is the awareness of limb locations, so movements of shapes, temperature, and pain. So, we have also as active and passive touches. So, exploratory procedure. So, directed manipulation determine the specific properties of touch object. And so skin physiology, some areas are more sensitive than others. For example, like the fingers, ganyan. Alam niyo na, guys, saan ba yung mga sensitive parts? Okay, so 2-point threshold test. So 2 pencils, ayan. So spatial resolution, just read this. Okay, stimulus received by sensory receptors in the skin. So we have the thermoreceptors, which is the heat and the cold, and then the nociceptors, which means pain. Ayan. So the mechanoreceptors, they include the pressure. Ayan. So rapidly adapting or slowly adapting, ganyan. So, sa mga naka-iPhone, naka-iMac, naka-Apple stuff, di ba we have the 3D touch already in your devices. So, meron yung parang kung paano mo i-press or paano mo galawin yung specific keme, then may iba-iba silang activity na ginagawa. Ayan. Okay, movement. Ganyan. So it takes time to respond to stimulus, reaction time, movement time, ganyan. Movement time depends on age, fitness, ganyan. Reaction time depends on the stimulus type. So visual, auditory, and pain. So as you can see, pinamabilis talaga yung pangdinig and then minsan matagal yung reaction time natin sa pain. Kasi sometimes like, alam nyo yun, yung parang nasusugat kayo, ganyan. Tapos parang mamaya, ay, shit, ang sakit nun. Anong meron? Oh, fudge, nasugat ako. Parang ganon. So, medyo matagal talaga yung response natin with pain. Ganyan, yung tipong sinasaktan ka na nga, tapos ikaw wala pa rin. Ganyan, go ka lang, push, hanggang sa tanga ka na, ganon. Keme. Okay, so increasing reaction time decreases accuracy in the unskilled operator, but not in the skilled operator. So, movement. I like to movement. At kung masaya. Natalagaan ka niya. Okay, so you have the movement for the speed and accuracy. So what's the relationship between the two? So it depends on the skills. Like the type is ganyan. Okay, this is math. So pass. Okay, three modes of viewing a moving object. So hold our heads and eyes still as a moving object passes in front of us. We may be staring at the bird or we can just perceive the car move from right to left. Ganyan. Ah, at kung masaya. Ayan. So hold our head still and let our eyes follow the object. Like, ooh, ganyan. Like, yan. Tapos hold our eyes steady and move only our head to follow an object. Okay, this causes the image to project to exactly the same retinal location. Keme. Yan. So, those are different movement perceptions. Sorry. Okay, so motion after effect. Okay. Motion after effect knows as the adaptation effect. So when a stimulus is not moving, for example, a waterfall, kaya nakikita mo yan, ganyan. So motion detection system, motion detectors undergo spontaneous activity. So for the P phenomenon, so motion being seen, where there is no physical motion, so two illuminated spots of light around 6 to 8 inches apart. So like PE phenomenon, yung bumbilya, the flickering of the lights, ganyan. Wala namang motion yun, pero parang you see, ayun. So for the films and cartoons, so still frames are rapidly projected para mag-act siyang gumagalaw. So I think you know this, guys. Okay, so yeah. So induced motion, so you're just sitting in a stationary train when any other train passes next to you and you feel like moving. Ayan. So parang nasisip, hindi ka gumagalaw, pero suddenly when like you're in a train, so walang train dito, sige, you're in a car and it's not moving and yet like the world is moving around you, parang ganun, you feel like left out the joke. You feel moving. Ayan. So autokinetic movements, so view a small, very dim light in an otherwise completely dark room. After some time in the dark, a small light will appear to move. Gago to ah, nakakatakot to ah. Joke lang. So cortical neurons specialize for movement and it responds best when the motion is in a specific direction. Okay, so for smell. So what's the difference between the nose and like computing or computers and all? So experiments are being done to transmit smell across the internet and by the biometric devices to to identify one person from another. Okay, so this may be weird, but I'm just going to share this. Like, have you experienced like associating a smell to a memory? Ayon. So parang like you don't exactly smell it. Like when you see a color or you see a picture of the past or something, not necessarily food. Of course, when you see a food, like you already know what it smells, and especially if the food is like familiar to you. But you saw a picture of the past, like a place, ganyan, and then suddenly the smell, you recall the smell, ganon. So something nostalgic yung atake. Ewan ko, I'm just sharing this. I don't know if it's just me lang ha. Ayun. So, when it comes to HCI or human computer interaction camera, when you're creating like a UI or something, for example, you were commissioned to create a layout for a place, ganyan. Sometimes you need to incorporate the feeling of what you're smelling in your design. Maybe some things that can trigger those, like if, for example, layouting for Palawan, let's say dagat, ganyan. Kailangan may paramdam dun sa tao, dun sa user, na dagat yun says, dagat yun. Yung tipong mararamdaman nila, especially those people who are really into smelling. Basta yun, yung malakas yung trigger ng smells nila. Ayan. Ayan. So, the end, oh my God, I consumed almost an hour. Uh, don't worry, this video is not so dragging to ano. You can just make laugh at me and then every time I stop, I am really so tamad to edit this. But every time I stop, you can just take a break and grab some water and stuff. Ganyan. So if you have questions, just go to our Discord channel and type whatever you want to. Please type on the classroom discussion if you have questions. Kasi malay nyo yung ibang classmates nyo, andun din yung tanong nila. Ayan. See you guys next time. Bye-bye!